Today I want to talk a little bit about stress, burnout, fatigue, and trauma, and how all of those combined often come from the same source, similar sources, and can affect, and how they affect, because not only can they, but they most definitely do, affect our sexuality, affect our intimacy, affect our relationships, affect our romantic relationships, even our friendships or family relationships, and what we can do about them.
The Sex Talk.
So I want to sort of talk about burnout and fatigue first, because it's something that we're becoming more and more aware of in more recent times. Emily Nagoski wrote an excellent book called Burnout, and I just read it, and it's something that I personally have been dealing with in my life for about 6 years, 6+ years. 6 years ago, I was extremely burnt out, and my naturopathic doctor diagnosed me with adrenal fatigue syndrome. And basically, adrenal fatigue syndrome is burnout. It's the natural doctor medical term for the psychological same phenomenon that we experience. She looked at my tongue. She said, "Let me see your tongue," and she could just tell that I was experiencing adrenal fatigue. And the cure for adrenal fatigue that I was given by my naturopathic doctor was essentially rest and proper diet. And proper diet is tricky here in the United States because we are fed all sorts of processed foods that really inhibit our recovery when it comes to burnout and adrenal fatigue syndrome. So I think it's important to look at burnout from both a physiological angle as well as a psychological angle. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a medical doctor or a naturopathic doctor like mine was, but I am a psychotherapist and a sex therapist. So a lot of the work that I do does deal with the body and does deal with the physiological, in terms of physiological responses of the body. I'm not a nutritionist, so while I think following a very healthy diet is important to heal, I can't really speak on that except for my own experience. Things like really cutting down on processed foods that have loads of sugar, alcohol, caffeine, those types of things. The sooner you cut those out, the faster your body will heal. Now, it doesn't mean you can't ever partake in something like caffeine or alcohol. You can still have your fun and still blow off steam and have a glass of wine with dinner and drink some coffee in the morning. I love my coffee. It's been really hard to give that up, so I actually haven't. I actually do like a half decaf, half caffeinated if I can, if I'm home. But I do need to have my coffee, and I like it. And I recognize that if I was to probably stop drinking caffeine, I'd probably feel even better. But all of this to say, there are so many things we need to learn and do in order to either avoid becoming burnt out and fatigued and or taking care of ourselves once we get to that point. Because sometimes we don't realize that we're doing it. There are times in life where things sort of pile up. You've got this going on, 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 this going on. All these things going on all at once. You're like, well, let me just get through this and then I'll slow down. You say that to yourself, but what happens, and this is what happened to me, is your body and mind and brain, everything sort of gets used to this amped up way of living. When I was in graduate school, I was also playing in a rock and roll band, and I was also working part-time, and I was working part-time, plus I had an internship because I was trying to get my hours. So my day looked a lot like going to school, going to work, going to band practice late at night, and then repeat, and then even, you know, throw in playing shows out of town, like trying to be a musician and an artist as well as trying to go to school to become a therapist. Don't ask me why I did it, but at the time I had a lot of energy. I was significantly younger too, and I thought, well, I can do this. And graduate school for a master's program is 2 years, right? And then it was another 2 years to finish my hours. But it was like mindset, I'm just gonna get through these few years and then things will slow down. Well, they didn't. And the reason they didn't was because I was so used to go, go, go that I just kept going. Decided to start my practice, build my sex therapy practice while still playing music. While building that practice, I still had a full-time job in an agency. So here I am, you know, several years later, still doing the same thing. You know, slowly, and then as I'm building my practice, I decided, oh, hey, why don't I also do a YouTube channel? And so I started building this YouTube channel. I did podcasts, I made a documentary film, but I was in that mode for so long of go, 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 go. And, you know, I'm trying to think of the years. So let's see, 7 plus 4. So about 11 or 12 years, I was doing this like insane amount of go, 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 go. And then I crashed. I couldn't do it anymore. My practice was full. I loved doing this YouTube channel. This is one of the things that saved me, was having this outlet to be able to talk to you all and teach and educate about sex, healthy sexuality, healthy relationships, and being able to do this, you know, on this platform has been really amazing because it's a creative outlet for me. But I have to say that I eventually did crash. And once I crashed and my doctor told me I had adrenal fatigue syndrome, my body started responding. So I ended up closing my practice, taking some time off, and I was able to heal myself by resting a lot, not working as much. I took 2 years off where I saw a very small amount of clients. I focused on doing the sex talk. I was writing a book and I was writing music. So kind of like refilling the well with a lot of creative projects that really filled me up. And then I was able to go back to work. But in the meantime, my body started breaking down. I developed allergies to everything. My body became allergic to red wine, so you can't drink anymore. My body became allergic to things like Advil. It was always allergic to shellfish, but then strawberries. You know, other things like gluten and soy. Like, I became completely intolerant to so many things. My body just went on the fritz. So your body really tells you what's going on. But as a society, we don't necessarily know how to listen to our body. Our brain's like, hey, let's keep going. I really want to do this thing. I really want to go. We need to go have fun. We need to do this work. We need to do this. We need to do this. We need to go, 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 go. We can do it. Brain, that's what your brain is thinking and telling you. Your body is like, no, woman, slow down. You need 8 hours of sleep. You need to eat balanced meals with lots of vegetables, and you need to stay hydrated. And those are the very most important things. My dad used to say, do things in this order: health, education, wealth. Your health comes first. Without health, you won't be able to accomplish anything, and it becomes pointless. You won't even be able to enjoy the fruits of your labor because you will not be well. So I really want to talk today about burnout, stress, and fatigue, and a little bit about trauma, because I think trauma was the way in which the thing that propelled me was fear of not being good enough, fear of not making enough money, fear of not being productive enough. And I went overboard and decided I could do it all. And that is really a trauma response. When granted, there is a huge part of me that loves all of those things. And yeah, I would love to be able to make more documentary films and write more books while also seeing clients and play music and all of the things that I really, really love to do. But you really have to, at some point, say doing it a little bit less has to be okay. Because I also really enjoy sleep. I really enjoy spending time with my friends and family. I really enjoy hanging out at home and cooking and spending time with my animals. And those are really important things too. We can't just be working all the time. So I know we often tell ourselves stories that this is just temporary, that this isn't going to be it forever. But we're alive today, we're here today, and we don't get this time back. We don't ever get this time back. This is it. So this is really just about really, it's a self-care episode essentially, but what is self-care? It's not just taking baths. It's not just getting your nails done. It's not just spending time with your girlfriends and drinking wine. It's making sure that you are in tip-top health, and if anything needs to be addressed around your health, you address it. To make sure that you surround yourself with people that respect you, appreciate you, recognize how hard you work, recognize that your resting is important, recognize that you have experienced trauma and that trauma needs to heal, and in order for that to heal, you need to be in a comfortable, healing, safe, supportive environment. All of that is what self-care is. And there's lots of videos on this channel about how to calm your nervous system down. The other video that I did just before on boundaries has some information on how to regulate your nervous system. I'll put a link somewhere. And I also did a video on dealing with anxiety. Actually, that's the video where we talk about self-regulating. Breathing is a really important part of teaching our nervous system that we're not in danger. See, evolutionarily, when we were hunters and gatherers, when we lived on the lam and there was a threat of danger, our body would signal us and we would have to run. Maybe a lion was chasing after us. A bear, when you're out in the woods and you're camping, you know what it feels like to be out there in the elements. Well, that's how we've evolved. We live in houses now, in apartments, right? We don't need that fight or flight response nearly as much as we used to, but we still have it. We still have it when we feel isolated, when we feel scared, when we feel alienated, when we feel rejected, when we feel neglected, when we feel scared. I think I said scared already, but that response is so old. It comes up even today when someone says something to us that hurts our feelings, or someone says something to us that makes us feel like, oh my God, I'm gonna get isolated. Because evolutionarily, when we were isolated from the pack, that was scary to us. That was life or death. But it's not life or death now. But our body still thinks it is. So we start going into panic mode. We start getting super anxious. Our breathing gets really heavy. Our palms get really sweaty. We're like, we can't breathe. We hyperventilate. And when we're hyperventilating, we have a tendency to become emotionally reactive. in the video that I did, we become anxious about sexual situations. All of these things are not life or death. And so breathing, a breathing technique that can help you is very important. And there are so many. The one that I talked about in the previous video is the 4-8-7 breathing, where you inhale for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold it for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and exhale for 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do it at what pace works for you, but get into a practice of doing some sort of breathing exercise so that you can start to retrain your nervous system when a situation is not life or death. You start having to become more aware of what's going on in your body and being more mindful of the way we treat our body and the way we respond to our body, the way we respond, like by overeating or overindulging in alcohol or drugs or something like that. This also, I just want to mention, all of this stuff is covered in my course. If you're interested, the link is down below. I have a new course coming out very soon, and it's much cheaper than getting into years and years of therapy. If you're one of those people that like to do it yourself, take a deep dive. There's lots of worksheets. I'm a huge fan of doing the work via writing things out, getting really clear about how things affect you, why they affect you, and working it out. You can certainly do this with a therapist, and if that's not an affordable option for you, these courses are a really great alternative to therapy because you can do it yourself in the comfort of your own home. So that's kind of it for today, the burnout, stress, fatigue story, my burnout, stress, fatigue story. I hope it helped you a little bit because it wasn't fun. I'm really happy that it happened because I really learned something about myself. And there's a lot of moments where I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm really glad I accomplished that thing. Oh yeah, I'm really glad I accomplished that thing. But I could have probably accomplished all of the things that I wanted to without packing it in as hard. Right? Without forcing myself to just go. And I honestly believe had I taken more breaks, had I taken more breaths and breaks, I might have even been a little bit more productive. So that's my story for today. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you real soon. Bye.
The Sex Talk.